Hey everyone. For today's topic, I want to discuss something that I've noticed over time, which is it seems like love is maybe somewhat disappearing in modern times because of the way that dating and relationship dynamics have completely changed over time. It seems like people aren't valuing love as much because there was a period where it was valued quite a lot. And I mean, there was a long period of human history where it wasn't valued at all. And then probably somewhere around like maybe the late 1800s or so, it seemed like people started focusing on love to some extent and finally marrying for love instead of just, status or obtaining certain items, like gaining wealth in the marriage and that sort of thing. And then during the 1900s, you had more of like this focus on love. And now it's kind of like marriage is still, for the most part, centered around finding someone you love, but it also feels like it's just not the same anymore. Even though that ideal is still kind of held by society, there have been so many movements, so many things that have thrown like a stick in the wheel of the so-called chariot that is love. It's the dating landscape seems like it's forever changed. Maybe not forever, and that's my like poetic language coming out. But it's certainly changed in modern times. It probably will, hopefully, at some point, fix itself once the psychological research can catch up to where we are and start pointing out how, hey, if we start if we believe too many of these ridiculous notions that people have nowadays, it does lead to unhappiness further down the road, like this whole notion that you have unlimited partners to choose from thanks to social media and online dating, and this whole notion that you could have any partner you want, which simply isn't true. And I've talked about in prior videos how you need to work on yourself enough to be able to attract the kind of people you desire. And if you haven't done that inner work, you cannot have any person you wish. Even if society's telling you that, even if like the groups you follow, the echo chambers you're a member of are telling you that, it's not true. You won't be able to go out there and do that. Just like you can't become the CEO of a huge company without putting in some inner work to earn it. You have to earn things in life, and relationships are no different. Dating is no different. You need to be able to earn the kind of high quality partners you desire. If you don't put in any inner work, you're not going to attract like some amazing man who will come into your life making six figures and being 6 feet tall and whatever, looking like Brad Pitt and all that. You cannot attract a person like that unless you work on yourself. The same thing goes for men. They can't get like a woman who's incredibly attractive and incredibly kind and sweet and caring and gentle and feminine unless he has also put in inner work into himself. So that all being said, that's not quite the point that I wanted to drive at in this video, but I've just noticed it seems like love isn't quite the same as it used to be in the past. So what I mean is, it seems like people maybe don't value it as much as they used to, even maybe like 20 or 2 to 3 decades ago at this point, because social media and online dating have like forever changed the dating landscape. And even before that, the pill was starting to change it as well, because it gave women the freedom to sleep with whoever they wanted to without any real repercussions, which sounds great in theory, like having that freedom, but in practice, I'm not so convinced that it actually is a good thing for women, because there is some research out there that pair bonding gets affected when women are able to sleep around with whoever they want. And pair bonding is basically the whole notion that, or not the notion, it's basically how people will choose a monogamous partner for life. And that's pair bonding, choosing that life partner. But if you sleep around a lot, it literally can kind of rewire certain parts of your brain that make it so it's more difficult to pair bond. And this makes sense. I mean, you can look up like the Coolidge effect. That leads some credence to the psychology behind this, because it shows, well, actually, Coolidge effect kind of more deals with attraction and how men, or male rats in this study, are attracted to like novel female partners, meaning new ones. So that's like the whole why people want to sleep around all the time, because a new partner to them is more attractive to them. maybe even because they are more attractive than their prior partners, or just because there's something new, or because it literally represents a biological, like, it represents new DNA for them to mix their DNA with, right? And that's like a survival instinct for the species to mix DNA, because usually over time that leads to a stronger species. So all these things do affect humans to some extent. We like to believe we're separate from animals and that doesn't bother us at all, doesn't affect us, but it does. We are animals at the end of the day. We're just ridiculously intelligent animals, and it messes us up in so many different ways. But my whole point there is, I believe these modern movements are going to lead to a lot of people being unhappy because they're affecting our ability to love. It's affecting the whole entire notion of love. Like, how many people do you know who are legitimately in love with their partners? I honestly don't know many. And it's not even like an attack on the friends that I have or anything. It's literally just that it seems like it's harder for people to find that kind of relationship now, because things have become rather superficial. And also, when things aren't superficial, people finding their partner just based on the way they look or how much money they make or other BS like that, you also run into situations where people they're not able to find love in general. It's like people aren't focused on it. That loyalty is kind of lost to some extent, and it's a shame. I mean, this is probably why, like, not online dating, but dating in general, modern dating, is so weird for many people, especially people who've worked on themselves, because you will hit like a point where you just look at the dating landscape and you're like, what the hell is going on here? Like, this is messed up. I don't know where we took some wrong turns. Some of the potential factors here, like feminism, for as great of a movement as it is, there are parts of it that are kind of pushing a bit too far and making women become more masculine, which isn't a good thing. Like, it sounds good. Being empowered is good. Having equal rights to men is good. But going too far and wanting to make women almost like men 2.0, like when having them rise up in their careers and that sort of thing, it doesn't actually seem like it's a good thing. I mean, one, because men don't want masculine women. They don't. Like, if men were attracted to masculine energy, they'd date each other, but they're not. Masculine and feminine are attracted to each other. So when women become overly masculine, now they're unable to attract a masculine man, because he's going to be going for feminine women. And right now, there are a lot of influences out there pushing women to become more masculine. That is not good. But you can't really talk about it because, people, I don't know why exactly, really. I guess it's not politically correct, but I don't know why we so often feel like we're walking on eggshells when talking about things that affect people's happiness in the end. Because we really should be discussing these subjects and exploring them further, because these movements have implications. Like, for all the good that is in feminism, there is some bad, and we're not allowed to criticize that bad, even though that bad stuff is going to lead to a lot of women being unhappy. So just like with like the male versions of feminism, because whenever you have a movement, there's a counter movement. It happens like almost all the time. It's almost like a rule of nature. If there's a movement, there will be a counter movement. So men have like the red pill and MGTOW and those sorts of things. And there's a lot of good in those movements too, like a lot of good. But there's also, yet again, bad within them. There's like the radicalized aspects of it, where you have men saying all women are the same, all women are hypergamous, all of them monkey branch, don't go for women because if you get one, she'll cheat on you. It's not your turn. What is it? She's not yours, it's just your turn. Yeah, all this BS out there, and that also isn't true. I mean, if it's talking about average women, then sure, it could hold up quite a bit. But there are women out there who work on themselves and they're not hypergamous, they don't monkey branch because they've worked on themselves enough not to. So it's just, basically, there are all these things out there right now influencing people that kind of turn away from love. It's like people are giving up on love. And it's really unfortunate to see, and it's also made it more difficult for those of us who do believe in love to find it, because people are becoming so jaded and these values aren't being, how do I put it? Society isn't pushing these values anymore. So very few people are having them organically. In a way, it's almost like society is pushing the opposite. They're turning away people from these values because they're constantly showing us how you can get hurt, or they're showing how sometimes going away from these values could potentially be beneficial, but not really even then. They're just basically showing all the horror stories of like bad relationships and marriages, and constantly telling you the divorce rate is super high, so it scares people from even wanting to give love a shot. People are becoming incredibly closed off and barricaded, and it's sad, it's unfortunate. And I do want to throw in here real quick, a lot of these assumptions I'm making, and a lot of what I'm discussing here deals primarily with Western cultures, so I don't know how this is affecting the rest of the world, because I do imagine it's different in like certain European countries that maybe aren't as individualistic as like America or Canada or Australia, but maybe like the cultures that are more collectivistic, it's probably different there, because collectivistic cultures do tend to, people are just more connected in them because you're raised in like family environments. You're taught the importance of family, and like people still respect their elders there, and it's different. But in these individualistic cultures, everybody's taught to like do their own thing, pave their own way in life, which is good. There's a lot of good in that, but we need like the balance along with it. We can't be telling people to just constantly try to get through life alone, because it's not really feasibly possible. And we can't, or we shouldn't tell people not to value relationships either. And that's why I so often will vehemently argue against those radicalized aspects of feminism and MGTOW and Red Pill and other movements like that, that tell women and men to give up on relationships. Because to me, that's you basically signing up for unhappiness. Even if you believe you can do it, by all means try it, have fun. Like, you can report back in 50 years later and tell me whether or not that worked out for you. But I know relationships are one of the most influential, impactful, and one of the biggest sources of life meaning and fulfillment if you find a good one. And this is what I mean. Like, I'm not telling people to just hop into any random relationship with the first person they come across. I'm telling people to seek out and create a healthy and great relationship with someone who works on themselves. Don't go after an average person. That's a mistake. But definitely don't give up on dating and relationships entirely. That is so freaking stupid. You're signing up for future unhappiness because your ego can't handle the thought of getting hurt in the here and now. Well, sometimes you have to get hurt to find the right person. It happens. I've been hurt quite a few times. It's not fun, but I keep going because I know eventually if I keep looking for the right woman, I will meet one like her. So I'm going to keep going until I do, even if that means meeting her at like 35 or 40, whatever the hell it would be. I don't care. If I can meet her at some point, to me that is worth it. And yeah, she will have to be a woman who works on herself, because I'm not arguing for people to go after average people at all. That is a mistake. You should work on yourself enough to enjoy being single until you meet someone who would make a good partner for you. So yeah, but man, I've touched on so many different random things in this video, but they all somewhat relate to the main topic at hand. But I really just wanted to talk about how strange it is that it just seems like love isn't as common anymore, and it's unfortunate. It's like people aren't as loyal. They're not even looking for love. I mean, if you go on dating apps, I've used quite a few different dating apps in my adulthood, and my God, you see so much craziness. You see people who are just looking for hookups. You see people who just want a sugar daddy. You see women who just want free meals from guys. There's so much BS, and very few of the women on those apps seem like they're actually looking for a real relationship. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to discuss this, because it's just sad. Why are people giving up on love and relationships? It's unfortunate. I'm sure they probably won't make it this far, but I'm sure a lot of guys will probably call me a simp for even discussing these things, because they will want out maybe some of the things I talk about in here will offend them, like me saying there are bad aspects to Red Pill and MGTOW, but also just because apparently if you talk about these things and you actually believe in relationships and whatnot, that can get you labeled a simp nowadays. So there's just a lot of BS out there. There's a lot of crap that's turning people away from things that will actually improve their quality of life and make them happier. And I don't know if there's like some grand conspiracy, probably not. If anything, it'd be like a bunch of different conspiracies that are just all happening at once and dismantling humanity because of how many of them. I don't think there's anybody pulling the strings for creating all of these issues, but yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It really is strange. It seems like maybe it's just a product of the way the world is now. I don't know, but things are heading in a not so great direction. So I just wanted to discuss it. I don't really have any solutions here besides some of the things I mentioned prior in the video of, yeah, going for people who work on themselves and not average people, and working on being happy on your own before, well, or while you're trying to find someone great. But yeah, I mean, I guess all I can say is just make sure you take care of yourself on this ride, because things are getting weird. But do not give up on love, guys. Just don't. Like, I think that is a huge mistake. Just, if anything, keep working on yourself and try to find environments where you can meet people who are like-minded. Even if it's online, just, I wouldn't suggest online dating, because you get a lot of average people in those apps and it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. But maybe you can find them on like certain chat groups or meetup groups or doing certain activities. You never know. So just keep an eye out. Try to go about dating consciously and see what you end up finding. But yeah, hopefully you found something interesting in all this random stuff that all kind of hopefully culminates in the point that I was trying to make, but maybe it doesn't in reflection. But hopefully it made sense. I just wanted to discuss how it's weird how, yeah, it seems like we're collectively kind of moving away from love. But I could be wrong here, so definitely share your opinion in the comment below, your thoughts on this subject. I would be curious what you guys have to say. But that's all I have for you. I'll see you guys in the next video. Arrivederci.